Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from a local view. I'm your host, Leah Love, and today I'm so excited. We have LaDosha Wright. She is a plethora of titles all bunched up together, and a few of those are: she's the owner of the Reverence Design Team Hair Salon, a brand ambassador, influencer, licensed cosmetologist, author, and filmmaker. She has traveled all over the world learning about history and the in-depth understanding of hair. And today we are going to talk about the truth behind the strands. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, I like that. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me, how did you get into the beauty industry altogether?
I got into the beauty industry from being an outreach worker. And I used to work for this organization called Family Health. In the beginning, it was Family Health of Beachbrook, but it turned into Family Health. And my job primarily was to teach parenting classes and anger management. And the population that I was working with, for the most part, was parenting and pregnant teens, and then youth returning into society. So that's how I got into hair, by working with the families in group settings. And so in the group settings, you know, people just show up like, ugh, and I'm like, oh, we must be missing something here. So I was asking, like, you know, this isn't really answering you guys' parenting and anger management issues. So I just started to ask, like, let's put away all the fancy stuff and really what's going on. And one by one, the answer was hair. And I was like, oh, they didn't in my textbook here. They didn't teach us that in college, you know? And so I came up with a creative way to show a correlation between hair care and self-care. And it just grew into me forcibly. I had to be forced into being a hairstylist because this was not an industry that I even wanted to entertain because I don't know how to do hair.
And we know that's a lie.
I can do a little something.
So how long have you been a licensed cosmetologist?
Well, 22 years officially.
Okay,
22 years. Yes.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
So what brought about the documentary, the inspiration for it?
So the documentary, the inspiration is two things. One is the cultural appropriation, but the bigger thing is revisionism. And in this country, you know, like when my mother was growing up, her history about being black was, blacks didn't have any history. We were savages and they civilized us, you know. And then today, we're getting the latter. Now we're on center stage. And so in the beauty industry, you know, they act like we don't even belong in the history books. And so there was this woman who she reimagined Dr. Willie Morrow's California curl, which it was replaced with Jerry Redding's Jerry curl, as if a black man could not have invented this. We were just saying Jerry curl. That's all you hear black people say. Now, black hairstylists are like, why y'all keep saying that? We're not speaking up that this man did the Jerry curl. So he did this. So there's this woman, she reimagined this. And so she's saying that she invented this and that she has revolutionized hair care for black women, and that nothing has been this revolutionary in black hair care since the relaxer.
And when did that come out?
I don't know how long hers has been out, but I was so unnerved. I mean, I was just like, I watched a lot of Tariq. You know who Tariq Nasheed is? He did the Hidden Colors. So he's questionable character, but you know, you got to give the man an E for effort. But one of the things I would give him credit for saying that he's in one of his series was this revisionism. And you hear this, but you don't really feel it because we're working, so we don't feel the revisionism of blacks' contribution in the diaspora. And so I felt that for the second time in my life. The first one was in Mexico when they tried to say something else. And I was so unnerved that I'm calling Dr. Morrow. You know, the internet make you think you could touch Jesus, you know. I'm just on Jesus on the main line. Let me Google it. And so
you reached out to him and he answered.
He did not answer. I got his daughter.
Okay.
I mean, I emailed her. I know she read that like, girl, go get some therapy. And so, so that began the conversation on the narrative.
So who is Dr. Willie Morrow?
So Dr. Willie Morrow is single-handedly a barber, a self-taught barber, but he did become a licensed barber, implanted from Alabama to San Diego. And he introduced us to the tools that we use today to literally, physically comb our hair with the right product, the right tool, the right technique. He did this by himself. So there is no person, no licensed person, no licensed instructor who can not give this man this credit. So he did the pick, he did combs for us, and then he introduced. There's been no service, no chemical service, would be this California curl. And that was the first time that African American hairstylists was able to have our own service and retail. You could not get this over the counter. That's what separates us as professionals from the public, is our access to products and education that the public doesn't have. So that's Dr. Willie Morrow, and he had his own television station, his own radio station. He wrote books. He traveled around the world and saved us, America, in the Vietnam War. That he gets no credit for this. I didn't know this when I called her up on the phone, and so and this all came out in my discovery process. And so that's that's what a magnanimous of a person Dr. Willie Morrow is, not only to African Americans, but to the world of textured hair people. He is our Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior.
Lord. I know that I had a person who talked from the Textures exhibit a few months ago, and she was showing us some of the artifacts that he had and some of the things, and it was just very, very interesting to see stuff I would have never thought about, like how they used to grind corn to wash the hair, and I'm like, what? So I think it's always interesting to make sure that you learn the history of your industries, regardless of whatever industry it is. But understanding, you know, where it came from, how you can continue to revolutionize it, make it better.
Yeah, Dr. Tamika Ellington and Dr. Joseph Underwood, they did that thing.
Yeah,
and,
they did
and
it
Dr.
great.
Willie Morrow, he made that exhibit possible. So yeah, kudos to them. I love them. Yes.
So tell us, how did you find everyone that you put into this documentary?
Well, one of the things that happens when you're talking about Black history is that we always feel like it's what's that word you want to use? It's verified or it's certified when you get it from academia. Well, academia has not been nice to Black folk. Let's just be honest. You know, they trying though, but they haven't. So I decided I'm not going to just do academia. I'm going to go into our community and let them tell us our history. So I just reached out because everybody's on the internet. Nobody trusts television anymore, thanks to number 45. So I reached into the world of social media to the people who I felt had very forthright thoughts on Africans' contribution to the world of beauty and humanity.
And so who are some of those people they can see in the documentary?
So some of the people that just speaks out, because I deliberately like, okay, let me go. So the first one would be Robin Hill. And so she's a licensed professional clinical counselor. And so she speaks to the importance of legislation for black folk. I spoke to former Ohio Senator Shirley Smith. Unc West, Brother Unc West is the one I wanted the most, because he is a part of this online forum called the Pseudo Killers. And I call them, these are some rogue street scholars. I mean, they will go through and comb through every part of history and let you know where some of those people had it wrong. My best friend, Kevin Chill Hurd, he's a journalist. And of course, some hairstylists, Victoria Webster, my colleague Kendra Weems, Waverly, Cassandra Houston. So I had to, go to my peeps as well. The Aveda Institute, big ups to Aveda. Big ups to Aveda. And so we have some community people. Lorenzo Thomas, he's a lecturer on African thought, very good lecturer. Kofi Paisai of the Kofi Paisai research team, Masi Warrior Clan, Fatu Sangay. We had to go to Mama Africa, you know what I'm saying? So we had to get some African up in there. And then Rev Air. So Rev Air, they made it possible for me to go and meet Dr. Willie Morrow. So can't, you hate to say it, but I wouldn't be able to do this without Rev Air. Mm-hmm. So Rev Air, yeah.
Awesome. So how long have you been working on this documentary?
Actually, this is pretty quick. I started in March.
Oh, okay.
So that we talked, I think Cheryl and I talked maybe like in February. And anybody who knows Cheryl, I just told you we should change her name to Thorough Cheryl. I call her unapologetically brilliant because she is a female version of James Baldwin.
Okay.
And if you know James Baldwin, then I think the whole world needs to just, start from James Baldwin. If not, go with Cheryl Morrow. Start with Cheryl. She's gonna kill me for saying that, but she's just unapologetically brilliant.
Okay. And if you are just tuning in, I'm your host, Leah Love, and we are talking to LaDosha Wright about the truth behind the Strands. She has a documentary called The Narrative, and we're learning a little bit more about that today. So when you were putting this together and you did all of your research, what surprised you most? What were your findings?
Well, the thing that surprised me most was I came across some research by Dr. Beth Bailey, who was so kind to have a conversation with me. She did a research for the Army. And so her research was about Afro's race and how the military handled this race issue during the Vietnam War. And so what surprised me was that black men used their hair to really position themselves as authority. That we ain't fighting this war if y'all not gonna let us rock these afros. Because it was during that time that they decided, of course this is in tandem with the Black Panther movement, we're not Negroes anymore. We're black people. We have a culture, we have a history, and you're not going to erase it by calling us a Negro. We are black people, and this olive drab is the term that the military was using. We don't see color. And the black man was like, use a lie, and you know it. And so Dr. Willie Morrow was charged with the task to teach the world via the armed forces about Afro hair. He wrote everything, all of the science that we don't even know exists. We've never had access to it as licensed barbers and cosmetologists. And you have people that's celebrity style status, and they're just like, and it's like, you wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Dr. Willie Morrow, and you only know what they told you. And so that just blew my mind. And we have the Crown Act. black men did the Crown Act. And because the military conceded, they said, you can wear your afro. Now, in the end, because of the institution, but had Dr. Willie Morrow not went over there and cut that hair, I don't know. We would, they say we lost that war, but to black men, we ain't lost nothing. And I did interview Ivan Williams, my mentor, who's a cosmetologist and a Vietnam veteran, and he verified her research as if he wrote it himself to the location. Everything he told me matched her research to a T, even Dr. Willie Morrow. That blew me out the water.
Okay.
I was like, what?
So you're speaking to someone who wants to have their own documentary that they want to start. What's your advice? What were the pros, the cons, the ups, the downs? What can they be prepared for that you weren't prepared for?
This is where it gets really, I would say you should probably do everything yourself. Because I'm not a film person, so I can't even really, I truly am a cosmetologist. The process of working with creatives for me was very challenging because of their concept of what it is to be creative. It means different things to different people. And to me, that was just very irritating. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't know if I'm, I would, perhaps if I had the resources to be with a crew, maybe things would be different. But I think this is a true indie. This is not Tyler Perry. This is not Ava DuVernay. So no. So that part was very irritating, to work with people who felt they knew what they were doing, but in fact, which was okay because we all came into it knowing that this is new for all of us, but to admit that you don't know, I felt that those individuals that I worked with, that was very challenging. But I'm sure they walked away with lessons of how to have that exchange. So I would recommend that if you're going to do an indie one like I did, you could, because this is going to be on YouTube, you could very well do all of it yourself. You don't need to pay people to do your camera, your filming. You could just take your tripod.
So you did your camera, you did your editing, you did...
Some I did do myself, some I paid people, but when I look at the footage, I'm like, ooh. But, like I said, this is an indie project. So that process was very interesting for me. But I did, someone recommended that I follow Ava DuVernay's process. And so she was just saying, like, she didn't have any of what I had access to. And that she felt that one of the biggest problems that indie black filmmakers have is that they're always complaining about, that they're always in need. Like, I need help with camera, I need help with, editing, I need. And her response was just do it. So I would say, listen to Ava DuVernay and just go ahead, because if you don't have the big funds for a true production, why take yourself through all of that? Just grab your phone and go for it. Use your apps that you can edit. YouTube makes the upload extremely easy, and you could promote it yourself, and then maybe the big people will follow, and you could enter it into your indie film festivals and just have fun, which was how I did. I kept that approach, that I'm really having fun. But I would say that was the most disappointing part, that we as African Americans had the opportunity to shed some light on something fascinating, but the lackadaisical, I don't want to say it was lackadaisical. I just think that as blacks, we kind of downplay what we could be and who we are. And so if you say to yourself, I'm new, or I'm independent, fill in the blanks, you don't do yourself a service. If you see yourself as this, I have this skill, this talent, and you bring excellence, then you would really have a lot of fun. So that was the most disappointing part for me, was that these wonderful, talented, they were all talented, but they were lost in the role of the title instead of just being passionate and just have fun where you're at with what you have.
I understand about passion and
Yeah.
working with people who lose that. Okay, so you said indie. Are your plans next to enter any of these indie film festivals, Sundance? Will we see you on any of that?
I don't think you can take this quality and stick it in the Sundance. That's one. Two, I'm not a filmmaker, so
Okay.
this was very challenging for me because I don't know how to prose this. So I did it the best way that I knew how with the information that I had, because the resources to really hire someone who could do that, I just didn't have it, and I wouldn't, even if I did, how would I to know? You know, I don't know what I'm doing. So that I would definitely have to go everything indie route. It's the quality of it. I think they would be like, girl, get that out of here. You know, the sound going up here. You got somebody in the back scratching and crying. Get your audio together, girl.
So let me ask you this. What is it that you want people to take away after they have watched your documentary?
I want people to take away, to be proud of who you are, number one. Number two, learn your past. We have a group. I did see two things, and that's why the film was very hard to make, because you have a group of Africans, you know, in the diaspora who know their history, and then you have a group of Africans in the diaspora who don't. And so we need to, those of us who know, we need to model so that people who don't know can be inspired, and then those who don't know, maybe they'll just want to take a peek. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping that for both sides of the lane, it will validate, like, I knew this, and oh, there's more. And then those who don't know, that they will, you know, be like, wow, I didn't know this. So that's because that's a hard film to make, because they're like, well, what's your audience? Are you trying to get people who know, people who don't? You know, hairstylists. Hair is for everybody, because we do hair in our home. So it was centered. This is coming from an approach of the beauty industry, because we never get to, well, we do get to tell our stories, but we don't. So this time I wanted to do it from straight cosmetology, not us sitting at the table. Oh, black, you know, white people made us do this with our hair. Black people, hairstylists, like, girl, bro, where that hair? What do you think about these white folks? You know what I'm saying? So I had to include everybody, but it's definitely coming from a cosmetology barber perspective, and that people would just walk away with either I knew that, there's more to know, or I didn't know that. They may just like, it's just something to know. I don't know. I hope we can galvanize, it's, you know, as the African American beauty and barber industry, and stand up in our legacy and stop downplaying it and acting like we're inventing something new, like the natural hair movement. We should have never done that. We should have known our history, and we should have not ignored it. Because you have some people, well, I didn't know he did that. And then you have some people, I knew he did that, but you were complicit. You did not speak up. And we should speak up for Dr. Willie Morrow. If you're a cosmetologist and a barber, I don't care what ethnicity you are, if you color hair, I don't care. If you're doing hair in any capacity and you don't say Dr. Willie Morrow, you don't hear a doctor saying he doesn't know the Hippocratic Oath. That's how serious this man is to the world of beauty.
All right. And in 30 seconds, and all of your travel, what has been the best, most fascinating place that you've learned about the beauty culture?
I would definitely say the Gambia. You know, I would say on the continent of Mama Africa, for me, as a descendant of slavery, that's where our roots are, in West Africa. That's where they stole us from. On the continent of Africa, excellence was just, to me, the country of Gambia on the continent of Africa. Excellence stuck out, and then more importantly, we never really had an issue with how beautiful we were or were not. We just who we are, and so going there to see that, where they don't type hair, they don't have good hair, they don't have you're too light, you're too dark. You are a reflection of what Mother Earth produces. That's what you are. And there are no adjectives of beauty and ugly. So to me, being in Africa, I was able to be a human. I was not pretty LaDosha, not educated LaDosha, not licensed or all these qualifiers. I was a human. And that was a beautiful place to be in. To just be a human, that's awesome.
All right. Well, what is the website that people can go to learn more about your documentary?
Right now, we don't have the website set up, but you can follow us on all the social media platforms. But for now, I would say lwritebooks.com is where we're going to put everything at until we get a landing page. So I would say lwritebooks.com or my YouTube channel, LaDosha Writes. And Cheryl and I were on every Monday at 6 o'clock about the dumbest ish that people say about black hair. So that's a great platform to learn about the documentary and hair.
All right. Well, thank you. I am your host, Leah Love, and thank you for watching Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from a local view. Have a great week.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.